YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And what the fuck happened out there today? 10 trades on deadline day alone. It never happened. History was made. Was not expecting this. Was expecting a good amount of trades, maybe the most ever, but this was insane here. A lot of big ones, a lot of shocking ones, a lot to break down. I'm going to go through every trade that happened today. I'm going to grade each team, break it down. We've been grading the other ones that have been happening on Twitter. There's clips and there's graphics. I'll put the links in the comment section here, but you're missing out if you're not following us on Twitter. Link down below for that, as well as our Picks League and our sponsors. I'm rocking the Vikings GLD chain. They have NFL teams, NFL players, real stuff. Code GOAT for discount codes for our sponsors there. But we have weekly coverage. We have a bunch of trade deadline videos on the channel. We predicted some things here, so check all that out. Be much appreciated. Here's our Twitter. It's a must follow. All my thoughts and everything, the news has already been on the Twitter here. Super followers get bonus content. So the big one that we were all, this might not even be the biggest one because there were some crazy ones, but it very well could be the biggest one. Bradley Chubb goes to the Miami Dolphins. Fifth round pick in 2025 goes with Chubb to the Dolphins. The Broncos get a 2023 first, 2024 fourth, and Chase Edmonds. So I predicted Chubb to go to the Dolphins, but I was not expecting Chase Edmonds to go along or go with the picks to the Broncos. It kind of makes sense now. They're kind of looking for a back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. So it's a pretty big trade. Even though it's maybe not shocking, it's interesting to see. A first round pick for an expiring deal, pretty big for the Broncos, but would you have rather kept him, extending him? So that's the question there. The Dolphins, is it worth giving up a first for an expiring deal? I know some other picks are involved. They get rid of Edmonds here, but yeah, I see Dolphins fans on Twitter. Interact with a lot of people there. They're saying that getting rid of Edmonds is good because he hasn't been a good player. I'm really not about that, but I think it's the wrong reasoning. I think it could be good. We'll talk about Jeff Wilson. They added Jeff Wilson. Not only that, but you do kind of dump the contract for next year too. Not that it's super pricey, but you're not really going to need him next year. You clear some salary next year as well, and it makes sense for the Broncos getting Chase Edmonds. So to my grades, this was actually a better grade than I would thought. For a team acquiring Chubb for an expiring contract for a first-round pick plus some other things, I really didn't think I'd give out a pretty good grade, like maybe an okay grade, but I gave the Dolphins a B plus still, so the more and more I think about it, the more I like it. I think Edmonds could be a good back. I like the Edmonds part for both teams. I really do here. So I like the Dolphins kind of dumping Edmonds in his contract. They did give up a first-round pick, and that's tough for an expiring deal. Could you have got him in free agency anyways? Are you going to lose? That would make the grade drop way down if you lose him now in free agency after you just traded a first-round pick. That'd be pretty tough. But banking on the Dolphins, having confidence they'll get him re-signed, extended, and then kind of, and it helps them right now. They didn't want to wait for free agency. Helps them right now. It is, again, a little pricey for an expiring deal in my opinion, but I still give it a B plus for those reasons. The Dolphins are winning right now. They need more pass rush help. They can get a lot more out of the rest of the defense. Jalen Phillips is a young stud. He can get more out of him, can get more out of Wilkins, can get more out of Ugba. Baker on the blitz, Holland on the blitz, so that it can help big time. The Dolphins kind of run a little bit of multiple defense. They change some looks up. And Chubb is, very versatile in terms of not really position. He's going to be an edge rusher either way, but, putting his hand in the dirt, standing up. So I do like the fit as well. So B plus. Reason it's not an A is because it's a little risky with that expiring deal. We'll see what, so it's to be determined what they do with that. But I actually didn't think I'd be giving out that good of a grade for trading a first for Chubb. But the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I like it for the Dolphins. Broncos, I gave him an A minus. I actually like getting Edmonds. That's not the biggest piece here, but I like getting Edmonds in this deal because I think him and Javonte Williams are a 1-2 punch. It really, Javonte Williams needs to be, hopefully comes back healthy and sooner than expected, but he needs to be RB1, and you need a pass catching back. Shifty back is RB2, and that makes more sense than a Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Makes a lot more sense, and he's under contract next year as well, and he helps them right now because they need a back, and the Broncos just are off a win, so maybe can put together some games here. So I actually like getting Edmonds, and getting a first-round pick for an expiring deal is big. It's big time there. I know he's well worth it because the talent level that he is, and then maybe why I gave that minus, not an A or A+, even though I do like the value getting Edmonds, getting a first-round pick, is, maybe maybe you would rather have him, keep Chubb and extend him because you can afford him, right? So, I mean, that the only downside there. But, if you say that, you may say, why are you giving it an A still? A range. But I like Baron Browning a lot. I like Randy Gregory. They have Nick Bonito, who's kind of a Swiss Army knife type of player, and they're good at identifying those pass rushers, finding them, and they're very well coached. I think that defense isn't really going to take much of a hit in the future. I think they're going to be pretty good when they're healthy. So their defense will still be good without Chubb, and they'll have some extra space with not extending him to build more on that offense, which needs some help. So for all those reasons, I think there was more positives from the Broncos here. Mainly the difference, I don't really like doing winners losers because they did different, they got different things. I just like having them separate. It's a little more risk, I should say. That's maybe the slight difference if we were to compare. So overall, it's a fun trade right here. The Dolphins get a lot better right now, and then if they extend them for the future, and it makes sense for the Broncos. So really overall with the B plus A minus, like it for both teams. And then real quick, this one will go quick here. The Dolphins also getting Jeff Wilson. I love this for the Dolphins. They trade away Chase Edmonds, who has been a little underwhelming for them. They get rid of his contract for next year, which is a little pricey, not super pricey. And they had Jeff Wilson. I like Jeff Wilson. I think he's a heck of a back. He looks like he's faster this year, too. He was always pretty fast, and we know he can slip some tackles. He fits Mike McDaniel's offense, who came from the 49ers. We know that. They like Mostert. We know McDaniel likes Wilson. Mostert has an injury concern. Wilson kind of can be that lead back if he needs to, whether Mostert's there or not. Edmonds is a kind of a high-end running back too, right? So I love this for the Miami Dolphins. It's an A+ all day. For the 49ers, gave it a B-. I was originally going to give it a worse grade because my first initial thought was, what's really the point? And that still kind of applies. Because Wilson's been good for them. He's been reliable when needing to step up. The 49ers are in win-now mode despite their record right now. They have a shot to win the NFC, maybe more. So what's the point? You have McCaffrey, who has the shot of getting injured. I hate to say it, but like in the past, fingers crossed, we'll stay optimistic. And then Elijah Mitchell will come back, but he has the injury concern as well. But he is coming back. So why not keep Wilson? But then I'm thinking about it more and more. I mean, they do have McCaffrey, and they will have Elijah Mitchell, and maybe some other guys going to be in the rotation coming back. Ty Davis-Price maybe eventually, and they needed picks. They needed to get something back. And a 5th-round pick, it's pretty good value both. Like, it makes sense. Wilson for a 5th makes sense. Equal value. I like getting Wilson a little bit more, though, when just looking at it for the player for the pick. But the 5th-round pick makes sense, so it's not like they got anywhere near, fleeced or anything on that. So, again, I was originally going to give it a worse grade because was it really necessary? Would you be better off keeping them? Probably, but for the reasons that make it make sense, we bump it up to a B-. So I love this for the Dolphins, though. I like Jeff Wilson. Underrated back, and for some reason looked even better this year. Looked like he was faster. So, and we know he fits the Dolphins. This was I still can't believe it. I still can't believe this one. TJ Hockenson goes, and there was some rumors. I wasn't really buying them though. Wrong by me. But because I didn't really see any reason the Lions should or would or trade TJ Hockenson. Not only do they do that, they trade him to the Minnesota Vikings. Not only do they do that, who is their rival, Minnesota Vikings, our division opponent, I should say. But not only do they do that, it's an interesting, weird trade here. It's essentially the more when I first saw the details, I was like, wow, the Lions trade him to the Vikings. That's weird. Why did they trade him? Why did they trade him to a rival? And these picks, they didn't get the greatest picks maybe in return, but then the more and more I look at it, it is essentially a swap deal for a big-time tight end who still has upside, and it's not like he has an expiring deal either. He's still under contract on that option for under $10 million, which is pretty good for a good tight end next year, so it's not like they had to get something for him right now. So the more and more I think about it, too, it's kind of mind-blowing here, and if they would have let him walk next year, then in 2025, they would have got probably a third round compensatory pick. So I guess is it more than that though? Because they swapped and these are, I don't know. It's a little weird, but the Vikings, kind of the only thing missing on their offense. I mean, not Cousins isn't for everyone, but obviously it's not a hole, not even close. They have the running backs, they have the receivers. The offensive line is much improved from the past. It's not perfect, but much improved. They just kind of missing a tight end. I mean, they've had some drops from tight ends this year that's cost them some big moments in games, and they only have one loss, but And now you get a big-time tight end who continues to get better, and with those weapons, it could be really scary there. So, and again, it's essentially a swap. You got a 2023. The way I'm looking at it right now, T.J. Hockenson goes to the Vikings, then put that aside. 2023 picks. Let's take a look at those. It's a fourth. Vikings go back to the fourth round. Lions go up to the second round. So it's not. I feel like Hawkinson's value would be a second round pick, in my opinion. So you swap the second and the fourth, and then 2024, it's a swap of a fourth and the third. And apparently that fourth can become a third, which makes it even more strange. But it's a swap of one round in 2024. So the Lions actually did not gain a pick. Going up into second's pretty big, but it might be towards the end of the second, looking at the way Vikings are playing, long season left. But they didn't gain a pick. It's essentially a swap of picks. So this is a mind-blowing one here. So I gave the Vikings an A+. They didn't have to actually give up a pick. It was a swap of picks. They get a lot better at the tight end position. It kind of makes everyone else better. He's under contract next year, under $10 million. They won't really have any needs on the offense going into next year besides maybe trying to add another receiver perhaps, but they got some guys obviously. So this makes a lot of sense, and how they were able to pull this off from the Lions is just mind-blowing again. The Lions, I gave a D-, and that almost looks generous. I almost gave out an F. And the reason I think I kind of explained it. I think they got undervalued and they didn't even gain a pick. They swapped picks, and the picks don't really make sense. I thought he would be by himself worth a second-round pick, and the Lions basically say no way in hell with that one. He's under contract next year. It's not like you had to dump him. It's not like you needed that salary. It's not like, you're about to lose him. I thought he was a key piece to the offense. Maybe they just have more plans to go and spread in the future. Possibly. Maybe they could be gearing up for taking one of those college quarterbacks. It's a spread offense, not using a whole lot of tight end, just an extra receiver. So that's possible. The only reason I didn't give it an F is because I don't like Brad Holmes in this moment, but I like Brad Holmes as a drafter, and it maybe hasn't showed yet because I don't really agree with the coaching right now, and they're still developing these guys, but I think he's really done a good job drafting. But then again, they didn't even gain a pick, so I keep going back and forth with that, but they go up in the second round. Holmes should be able to do some damage with that. It's a shocking trade by the Detroit Lions here. It's head-scratching, so was really going to give it an F. So maybe maybe I was generous with the D-, but maybe Holmes can do some damage with it. Vikings offense looking pretty damn scary, pretty damn complete, and it's been pretty damn good, so far. Just a wild one there. This one, which I had this exact scenario in a video the other day, and it actually happened here. Chase Claypool to the Bears, pretty simple. Chase Claypool to the Bears, 2023 second-round pick for the Steelers, and this deal makes a lot of sense for not one team, for both teams, in my opinion, with Claypool going to the Bears and a 2023 second going to the Steelers. So for that reason, I gave them both A's. They both tie with an A here. And then some people may say, there were some people out there that were like, yeah, right, Steelers are going to get a second for Claypool. I didn't really agree with those takes. I think he's definitely worth a second-round pick. Possibly, maybe more. I wouldn't have been surprising if it was like a second and a fourth, not from the Bears since it might be an early pick, but like a second and a fifth. So that, first things first, I don't agree with that. I see some people ripping Claypool like he's been a problem for the Steelers this year. He's dropped the ball. That's completely false. Completely false. He only has one drop this year. He's been fine. They're limited with the quarterback play big time. He showed what he can do his first year playing. Quarterback play really dropped off since. And that's another question. Going to Fields, he's had some struggles in the passing game. He could sure run, but so will he still have those moments where he maybe can't get the ball enough because of the quarterback play? So that's another question to be determined moving forward here. But yeah, I kind of disagree with some of those takes that I've seen, on Claypool's value and how good he is right now. Disagree with those. But why this makes a lot of sense for the Bears. And you may say the Bears should have been only sellers. They were sellers. Why did they be a buy? Why were they a buyer all of a sudden? Why they have future cap space. They have draft picks. Why are they doing this all of a sudden? I'll tell you exactly why it makes sense. It makes sense because they need a receiver very badly, and not just for this year, which it helps this year, but for the future. And if you look at the future, the draft, free agency, the receiver classes are actually extremely, extremely underwhelming. They're not terrible, but they're extremely underwhelming for the draft and free agency compared to what we're spoiled the last few years, right? So there's not going to be a Chase Claypool available. There's not. So here's your shot to go get him. So this is not really, it helps them now. Maybe it helps Fields progress. That's a bonus. But this is for the future as well. You went and got your receiver, a better guy than you're going to be able to get in the first round next year in the draft. You gave up a second. I know it's an early second. That's pretty good for the Steelers, but it makes sense to me value-wise. So this is big for the Bears. He's cheap on top of it. Again, under contract next year. So it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, people may be confused how they have buyers and sellers. It makes sense to be a seller and focusing on the future and still buying a guy like Chase Claypool. So I love this for the Chicago Bears. I think he's a very solid receiver. And why this makes sense for the Steelers as well is because they get an early second-round pick. Again, maybe the draft class isn't, super strong, but they get an early second-round pick here. They're very good at drafting receivers and developing receivers, so that's kind of a bonus. That it's the Steelers here and they can find another guy. And they have other big needs. They still have Deontay Johnson and George Pickens in there, some other guys, so they can use that second round pick too. I mean, who knows? They might be in the market for a quarterback still in the draft, whatever it may be. Offensive lineman, for sure. A cornerback that did trade for William Jackson. We'll talk about that. Inside linebacker, so they can kind of focus on the bigger needs and get that receiver, which they'll probably hit on a little bit later in the draft. So that makes sense. A big picture here, big reasoning. Because even though I like Claypool, and I'd rather have Claypool in the second round pick if I had to look at it that way, but they basically chose Pickens over Claypool here. Pickens, a rookie, just starting off on the contract because they're similar style receivers. They've been having Claypool play in a slot, which he's all right there. He's a little versatile. He can do both, but they've been playing him in a slot quite a bit. So it's Pickens is a kind of your big body contested catch outside. Deontay Johnson's kind of your speedy separator on the outside. They need a true slot receiver, and I'm going to trust them to be able to find that here. So get that early second round pick. That's why it makes sense. So maybe make more of a complete receiver unit, which the Steelers are capable of doing. So I do like this. It is weird seeing Claypool away from the Steelers because he's been very good for them, but I really like this for both teams here. So it just made sense. So I like it. A shocking one. I did not expect Calvin Ridley to be traded today, and he was traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars from the Falcons, obviously, and he's suspended this year, obviously, as well, and he should be back next year. So the Falcons get, these are the maximum it could be, a 2023 fifth and a 2024 second. It could be less. It's depending on, when he's reinstated, all those things. So the bad news is that's kind of the max it can be. The good news is I think they probably get the max. I guess maybe I can't say for sure. I'm not a reinstating, expert, whatever, with the suspensions, but I feel like they can get the max there, so that's good. That's obviously good here. The Jaguars get a very solid receiver. I know he's been out for this year. They can't have him this year, but they're not a team that's trying to win anything, right now. They're looking out for the future, so they get a good receiver to help Trevor Lawrence. They got some free agents coming up. They just need to get better at receiver anyway, so it could look like it's Ridley and Kirk, for the future. Maybe add a receiver 3 in the draft, a young guy. It could make sense as well. Or it could be Zay Jones as receiver 3 next year. So this is kind of like the last trade. It was a receiver, and I liked it a lot for both teams. They both got an A, so it's kind of like that. This is a super, super rare. I don't think I've ever done this where both teams get an A+. I love this for both teams. The Jaguars trade, it's conditional. It's a maximum second, maximum fifth, and it very well could be that. And look at the years on these, too. I kind of forgot to go over that. It's a 2024 second. It's not a 2023 second. It's 2023 this year. And the Jags will get him next year, so after the 2023 draft, obviously. So I like that part of it as well. They need a true receiver 1. Like Kirk's kind of like that 1B, perhaps. You have that. I believe in not having receiver 1, receiver 2. I believe in having 2 1s, like a 1A, 1B. So I think that makes a lot of sense. It's going to be good for Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be good for this offense. It's going to be good for, next year where they're really going to be trying to win because they've got talent. They're capable of doing that, so... And for that talented of a receiver, I know he's suspended right now, but that they just need him next year. They don't need him right now. For that talented of a receiver, a future second round pick and a this year fifth, it just makes so much sense. I don't really see any downside of this unless he's for some reason not reinstated right away. I just don't see that being the case. And for the Falcons, it felt like he was on the way out, before the suspension. So for them to be able to, trade him now while on suspension and get 2 picks, one being a second-round pick, makes some sense. And originally it popped in my head. I'm like, if they waited till he got reinstated, could they have got more? Could a team desperate for a receiver and seeing that a legit receiver one reinstated, could they have given up maybe a little bit more? And I was thinking about that, but then I was like, maybe, but that would actually be after the 2023 draft. Which he was, because I kind of had a problem first glance, not a problem, but an issue first glance with the 2024 second. But if he would be reinstated, which he will be eventually, it'd be after the 2023 draft, you would think. So the next draft would be 2024. They got a second-round pick for 2024, and they actually added a pick in 2023 on top of it while he's suspended for all this year. And again, they get something kind of out of nothing because it didn't really feel like he was going to be playing for them again. They're kind of going in a different direction there. So it just makes a lot of sense for the Falcons, them getting those picks as well. That's kind of a team, even though they're playing well right now, kind of a team of the future. So getting those picks this year, next year. So I absolutely love this. Was kind of epic for both teams. I don't think I've ever done anything like this, an A+ for both. It just made so much sense. I don't really see any negative on either side, unless for some weird reason he's like not reinstated right away. I just don't see that. I just really don't see that. So we'll see. But I love it for both teams there. Nyheim Hines goes to the Bills. Colts get a 6th-round pick that can turn into a 5th. They also get Zach Moss. I kept mentioning the Bills with running backs. I talked about on Twitter the Bills could be a top landing spot for Heinz, but at the same time when it happened, it still, even though I thought it could happen, it still kind of surprised me because the Bills got running backs. I felt like a go big or go home situation where like go get a definite RB1 that you don't have, maybe not on the level that you have, better than on the level that you have, or just kind of stick with what you got because you got some decent backs and they go get another decent back. So I thought it was a little interesting, but yeah, at the end of the day, they do get better. They get a polished running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Can honestly play in a slot as well, which is pretty big. And they move on from one of those decent running backs they have in Zach Moss. And that's kind of good, kind of clearing that space, even though it's a little bit. And the Colts get a 6 that could turn into a 5 on top of getting Zach Moss. So that could be pretty good if it's a 5th and Zach Moss. That looks a lot better there. So to grade this one, yeah, I gave the Bills a B+. Overall, they get better with it. Heinz can catch the ball out of the backfield pretty well. They didn't, you want to get rid of Moss in this. When adding a running back, you want to get rid of Moss. Not that he's like a bad player. You must get rid of him. It just, you have too many backs. You want to shed a little bit of space. So that's a positive as well. You didn't have to give up. I love that it's conditional, that it's a 6 that could turn into 5. It's not just straight up 5. I love that for the Bills. So those are the good things. The negative is you kind of had these guys. Why couldn't James Cook work in this role? He looked pretty good the last game and get more of an experienced guy with Heinz, though. But my main problem is, which is not that big of a problem because I gave him a B+ overall, and I don't really base things off of what you could have done, but I kind of look at it a little bit like, why couldn't you? Apparently the Browns wanted a 4th for Kareem Hunt, and nobody offered that. You couldn't, and it could turn into a 5th. For Heinz. So you couldn't do one pick better and made your team that much better. It's already a juggernaut, but man, if they got Hunt, that is special. That is really good. So you couldn't just do that one more to go win that Super Bowl, and they very well could win it anyways. They could be the favorite, obviously, but so maybe I had a little issue with that, but we can't factor that in too much because that's like a separate scenario, something that maybe couldn't have happened possibly. It's all kind of assumption, predicting. You get my point. So the Bills, I gave them a B+. The Colts, it makes sense. I kind of get the feeling the Colts are near the edge, meaning which isn't the worst thing, but nearing maybe that rebuild stage at some point in the near future. And Heinz is under contract for a couple years, and he hasn't really been. He's got this splash moments throughout his career on the Colts, but he hasn't really been working out super well for them. It's not going to be a major loss, even though he's a solid player. So move on from him, get a pick. If they get a 5th, looks a lot better than a 6, but they may get that. And they get Zach Moss, which, Zach Moss is talented, just got to stay healthy, so get him in that rotation with Jonathan Taylor. Could help him this year, could help him next year, along with the pick. I thought it made sense. There really isn't, the only negative is if it's not a 5th. A 6th and 5th feels like a big difference, even though it's one round to me in this one, so that's kind of why I tacked on the A-, but there really isn't a big negative here. It makes some sense for the Colts. Next, we're rapid fire at this point. The Bills get Dean Marlow. They get a B. I give him a B for them. Just a depth safety. He played at first. I'm like, he played for the Bills. We pictured him in the Bills. So that's good. He knows the scheme. It fits. So why not get someone like that? It's been couple years since he's played in 2020 in it though. But I feel like what they got could be better, even though there's guys injured. Maybe they could have done a little bit better, perhaps. But overall, you got a guy that they view as a fit. It's just nothing to get crazy excited about. So I gave him a B. And the Falcons, they weren't really using him too much. I mean, a little bit on special teams. They gained a 7th-round pick, and then which was kind of useful for another trade they did. So I really liked it. It just doesn't. And the Falcons are more of a team of the future, even though they're kind of winning right now. But just get a pick in the 2023 draft for a guy that you're not going to have around. Don't really need right now, things like that. So I think it made sense, give it an A. But there's nothing A+ about this trade. Obviously, it's a small trade. And then I gave the Falcons an A also for Rashad Fenton. They needed a corner pretty bad. Fenton has experience in man coverage, which the Falcons been running quite a bit here this year, but he also can run some zone. He's young. They just needed a corner really bad, and they just traded a 2023 7th-round pick. I value Fenton a lot more. I know one's a corner, one's a safety, but I value him a lot more than Dean Marlow, and they got a 7th for trading Marlow, and they just had to get rid of the 7th for trading Fenton. That's I almost gave him an A+, but it's hard to give out A+ with these small trades that aren't never super wow, but I really like this from the Falcons. I like what the Falcons did today. I like what they did today. And the Chiefs, I gave them a B-. I would rather have Fenton for sure than the 2023 7th. Not saying that he's worth a lot more than that. Not really saying that. I just rather have Fenton. He started for them in the past. He's played pretty well for them. Obviously you can find better. The Chiefs are pretty good at developing corners that aren't supposed to be anything special. But, and the good thing, I was originally going to give a C+, actually, or in that C range, but they're getting McDuffie back, which I can't wait for, and they've been using Joshua Williams more, who's I'm excited for as well, lengthy, young defensive back that can move around a bit. So I guess they don't really necessarily need him, but, he's been useful to them, and they've had injuries, so they clear some space, maybe to afford Tony a little bit more. You thought if they were clearing space, though, they would have. People expected them to make a splash move, which Tony kind of is a splash move. But today, getting a pass rusher, so seeing them kind of clear space, maybe stings a tiny bit for some fans, just because you expect them to clear space. You better do this, better do something. But overall, it means good things about McDuffie, Joshua Williams, these guys stepping up with the other guys. I gave it a B-. Just wasn't that necessary for a guy that's kind of been useful for them, but definitely not the end of the world, that's for sure. Next, William Jackson goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They also get a 2025 7th-round pick, so it's a swap all the way in not 2023, not 2024, 2025, swap of 7th to 6th. It's an A+ for the Steelers. The downside is he's a little bit pricey right now, and then next year if you decide to keep him. But I think worth it for the Steelers. They need corners, and they kind of have some money to work with. They're not going to need that money elsewhere this year, so it's not like they're wasting it. And next year, it's they'll decide if they want to keep him or not. It's a little pricey, but if they kind of been making it work with corners that aren't. I think Tomlin and that defense make them look better than they are. T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, these guys get some credit. The pass rush make them look better than they are. And I like a guy like Cameron Sutton, don't get me wrong. Akello Witherspoon's been solid here and there, so don't get me wrong. They got some decent players. But getting a guy that has some upside still and that's kind of just better, at least on paper, than those guys, yeah, it could work out next year. And it could be worth giving them that keeping that contract as well. And just swapping picks, it just makes sense. So I love it. I love the value. I love the potential. And if it doesn't work out, you move on from them. So I give the Steelers an A+. The Commanders, it's a swap of picks in 2025. At first glance, it looks like an F for the Commanders because William Jackson's a decent corner at first glance with some upside, a lot of potential. Maybe he's been a little underwhelming, but so they only get a swap of picks in 2025. How are you not giving this an F, people may say. But at this point, they lost all leverage, kind of holding out. They're holding him out. He's holding out. They've been actually playing better without him. I think it's because of the competition they've been playing, but I think they can play equally as good without him possibly, and they have been playing better. And they're just moving on from him anyways. So that kind of bumps it up. But I still don't like that it's all the way in 2025. Couldn't you done something if it's a swap of picks this year or next year? So I do keep it in the C, but I think most people maybe would have expected a D or an F because William Jackson has way more value in that. But I kind of factor in what's going on today, what's happening in the now. They lost all leverage, and I guess they got something for him. That's kind of the issue on why I couldn't bump it up any more than that. But they've been playing without him anyways. But another thing is, he wanted a man coverage, more of a man coverage team. The Steelers do run more man coverage than the Commanders, even though the Commanders have run a little bit. That's why it was kind of funny. But yeah. So there you have it. Steelers make 2 moves, A and 1, A plus and another. The Falcons got 2 A's. And here's the last trade, which this one's a kind of weird one, kind of confusing here. The Broncos get Jacob Martin, who's a rotation pass rusher. They also get a 2024 fifth. The Jets just get a pick for trading Jacob Martin. That's a 2024 4th-round pick. And this is a weird one. I don't really like this for the Broncos. I couldn't give it too bad of a grade because it's such a small trade. But then, is it a small trade? Because the Jets just got a 4th-round pick. I know it's a swap, but a 4th-round pick is pretty damn valuable. The Jets now have an extra 4th-round pick for a rotation pass rusher, which they've been adding pass rushers that they don't need. It's an easy A plus for the Jets. Maybe you expect the Jets to trade for somebody, but this is one unexpected that it's an easy A plus. You just got, I know you swapped, but you just moved up in the 4th round. You just got into an extra 4th-round pick because of trading Jacob Martin. You could list off random guys in their team, So I thought that was wild. The Broncos, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, they can use him for next year as a rotation guy because he's under contract. Why wasn't this like a 6th and a 5th? I don't even know about that. Like a 7th and a 6th swap, or just give up a 6th. Or I'd rather give up a 6th easily than give a team my 4th and move back. So it's a little weird. It's a little weird, and they have Baron Browning for the future, and they have Randy Gregory, and they have Nick Bonito, and they're pretty good at finding guys in the later rounds. They have, Jonathan Cooper, so it's just a little weird. And the only thing I can think of is it kind of helps them right now too. But, it's almost like they got desperate. Like, we moved on Chubb. From Chubb, we need somebody here. So let's swap a 5th and a 4th. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. And the way I'm talking about it maybe probably sounds like I should have graded it a D or worse, but it's such a small trade. It is a swap of picks. I mean, Martin's a decent rotation guy. He can help him next year. But again, it's kind of a small trade, so I didn't want to flunk him or anything for it. I'd been a little too harsh maybe, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense, especially for it to be a 4th with, swapping. And it felt almost like desperate. Did they need to be that desperate? So those are all the trades today. There was a lot of them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. My thoughts here, but comment with your grades. We're always talking on Twitter with you. Maybe we can make another video if we have the time on winners, losers, but we kind of did it in this video. But I really like what the Bears did this trade deadline. I really like what they did. That Vikings trade was wild for them. That was good. The Falcons got 2 A's in this video. The Dolphins got a lot better. They got an A plus with Wilson. They get a lot better with Bradley Chubb. The Steelers got an A and an A plus in this video. The Jets end up pulling an A plus. The Bills got some guys and got better. Nothing major, but they definitely got better. So a lot of teams did some good things. I mean, we've seen the Ravens the other day with Roquan Smith getting better. The Eagles with Robert Quinn. And obviously the 49ers with Christian McCaffrey. Was very shocked that the Cowboys didn't make a deal. They almost did for Brandon Cooks. I really felt like the Cowboys would make a deal, whether it was for a receiver or I really was feeling my prediction of Sean Murphy bunting them. I'm surprised he didn't get traded. The Rams, very shocked the Rams didn't make a trade. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe. Don't need to give up many more picks, but I really thought they're going to make a deal. And I thought maybe the Giants could make a deal. Some other teams as well, but so maybe the Packers offered a 2nd for Claypool, but they valued the Bears more. Claypool and the Packers would have been huge, and now their division rival has Claypool. And the Packers may say, we're not worried about the Bears right now, but yeah, it's a future addition. The Bears have loaded cap space. They have draft picks on top of it, so the Bears got better for the future too. So pretty interesting. I really do like what the Bears did during the trade deadline, not just on the day here. It made sense. Things in the past the Bears were doing didn't make any sense. People may say, are they, again, kind of going back to that, people may say it doesn't make sense because they were kind of half buyers, half sellers in a way. That doesn't make any sense, saying that you don't get it, because Claypool is part of the future. It makes sense what the Bears did. I kind of explained it already. So I kind of like what they did. Jaguars and Falcons, both winners. The Falcons got an A plus in that one too. I forgot. Falcons got 2 A's and they got an A. The Falcons did a good job. Falcons won the trade deadline as well. I love that for the Jags as well. That trade was wild. This one was confusing. It's a small one. And the TJ Hockenson trade was wild as well. So a very fun trade deadline. That was exciting. I was not expecting 10 trades today. I was expecting the most trades maybe ever, just because that's how it is today. But that was absurd. We had trades going in way past the deadline as well, even though they did get done before. We just didn't find out until later. But yeah, a bunch of videos on the channel. More videos to come. Weekly picks tonight, actually. Power rankings up there. So subscribe to notifications on. Join us for all that. We much appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. Links pinned in the comments. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.